Vince Gill is not just a name in country music, he is a symbol of raw emotion, resilience, and artistry. His voice, particularly in the iconic song Go Rest High on That Mountain, has brought comfort to countless listeners navigating grief. With 22 Grammy Awards and an esteemed place in the heart of country music, Vince's legacy is steeped in integrity, humility, and deep emotional truth. But his journey, as it turns out, is defined not only by his music, but by the silent personal battles he's endured, battles that have shaped his artistry and character. Recently, he's revealed more about the private struggles that have quietly influenced his career, adding a new layer to the music we've come to know and love. Surviving loss, the tragedy that shaped Vince's music. In 1968, when Vince Gill was just 11 years old, his life in Norman, Oklahoma took a painful turn. A phone call shattered his peaceful world. His older half-brother, Bob Cohen, was in a terrible car accident that left him in a coma for months. When Bob finally awoke, he was no longer the same. The accident had caused severe brain damage. The brother Vince had once admired, playful, mischievous, and full of life, was gone, leaving a shell of a person who couldn't communicate or care for himself. This traumatic experience haunted Vince throughout his childhood. The emotional weight of seeing his parents, especially his mother, try to cope with the silent grief of a living but unrecognizable son, left an indelible scar on Vince's heart, a scar that would later fuel the depth and emotion in his music. A song of grief. It won't be the same. This year, Vince Gill's personal grief poured into his music, especially when he released his Christmas album, Let There Be Peace on Earth, in 1993. This album carried significant emotional weight for him, and the song, It Won't Be the Same This Year, was an intimate expression of his pain. The song spoke not just of the death of his brother, but of the absence of a loved one in a broader sense. It reflected the unique ache of loving someone who is still physically present, but emotionally and mentally lost. For Vince, singing that song is always a reminder of the 11-year-old boy who experienced an overwhelming loss, a loss that would shape not just his childhood, but his soul and music for years to come. Turning down the dream, a decision to follow his own path. By the end of the 1980s, Vince Gill was a well-known figure in Nashville, working as a session musician and contributing to Pure Prairie League, where he eventually became the band's frontman. However, despite his talent, his solo career hadn't yet found its direction. He had signed with RCA Records and released 2 albums, The Things That Matter and The Way Back Home, but both albums failed to achieve commercial success. When Vince received a tempting offer from Mark Knopfler, the frontman of Dire Straits, to join the band during their peak success in the late 1980s, most artists would have jumped at the chance for crossover fame. But Vince, ever grounded in his values, turned down the offer. In interviews, he admitted that he knew joining Dire Straits would change him, and he didn't want that. He wanted to remain true to himself and his music, even if it meant delaying his dream. The risk pays off. When I Call Your Name and Breakthrough Success. Vince's decision to turn down the opportunity with Dire Straits was a gamble. He questioned himself many times during the lean years, as he played small venues and watched other artists rise. But in 1990, he released When I Call Your Name, and the album proved to be a defining moment in country music. The title track, a tender ballad, resonated deeply with listeners and showcased the immense emotional depth in Vince's voice. The album earned him his first Grammy and marked his arrival in the mainstream. Vince had carved his own path, not chasing fame, but staying true to his roots, and this authenticity eventually paid off, solidifying his place in the country music world. Joining the Eagles, honoring legacy, not replacing it. Vince Gill's connection to the Eagles goes beyond just admiration. Over the years, he had covered their songs in tribute performances, and his relationship with Glenn Frey, the Eagles co-founder, had deepened. When Glenn passed away in 2016, Vince was invited to join the band, a move that seemed natural given his long-standing respect for their music. But Vince was clear about his role. He wasn't trying to replace Glenn Frey. No one could do that. Instead, he honored the legacy of the band while seamlessly blending his voice into their sound. His debut performance with the Eagles in 2017, alongside Glenn's son Deacon Frey, was met with standing ovations and tears from a crowd that recognized his genuine reverence for the music. Vince's quiet humility and emotional connection to the band set the tone for his contribution to the Eagles' legacy. Weathering the storm, illness and caregiving. Vince's love for Amy Grant was tested once again in 2020 when Amy was diagnosed with a rare congenital heart defect, requiring urgent open-heart surgery. Vince became her steadfast caregiver, offering unwavering support during her recovery. The COVID-19 pandemic complicated the situation, but Vince remained by her side, ensuring she never felt alone. Just 2 years later, tragedy struck again when Amy suffered a traumatic brain injury from a bike accident. Vince immediately canceled concerts to care for her, prioritizing her well-being over everything else. Through it all, Vince's love and devotion were constants, and his song, When My Amy Prays, became an anthem for their bond. His caregiving during these challenging times deepened their connection, proving that true love is resilient and enduring. Reinventing music. Vince Gill at 67. Despite his decades of success, Vince Gill shows no sign of slowing down. At 67, he remains restless, constantly seeking new ways to express his artistry. His songwriting today is focused on healing, reflection, and connection rather than commercial success. He describes the songs he's writing now as the best of his life, but they're not the ones that will dominate the charts. They're the ones that matter. Tracks like Forever Changed and Worlds Apart demonstrate his ability to capture complex emotions, telling stories of pain and growth. His music today is a testament to his dedication to truth, vulnerability, and authenticity, and his ability to find meaning in every moment, both personal and universal. Vince Gill's legacy. Music that speaks to the heart. Through tragedy, redemption, reinvention, and devotion, Vince Gill has shown that silence doesn't mean avoidance. It means reflection. When he speaks through his music, it's with the depth and wisdom earned from living a full, sometimes painful, but ultimately rewarding life. His journey, marked by loss, love, and the constant pursuit of artistic truth, has made him one of the most revered figures in country music. With each song, Vince shares a piece of his soul, offering comfort, understanding, and healing to anyone who needs it. His legacy isn't just in the awards or accolades. It's in the heart of the music he creates and the authenticity with which he lives.